Cool.
All right, going live now. All right, Nick, we are live. We're as live as they get. Bottom of the ninth. I think we're in an okay spot to say that we're feeling good, 9-0. Should not be interesting tonight. Am I jinxing my overall, attitude when it comes to these types of things? Don't say anything until it's over. I feel pretty good about this one, though. Must admit.
I think we're in a pretty good spot here. Hey, please don't make Alexis Diaz come in this game.
That's my point. Every time we get into situations, Diaz is on his way. That can't be a real thing. I'm sure you're ahead of me. I'm not even worried about syncing it up today. I'll tell you what, if they score 2 or 3 runs, then we'll start syncing it up. Until then, let's not worry about it. Nah, base hit. Cool. I like that. Yeah. I like how my own feed ticker's ahead of me. We do still need likes, though. The ghost of Luke Weaver. He knows what's going on. He gets it.
There we go.
Why is Fubo so far behind? How come it could? How it seems nearly impossible to me that the MLB TV app in cable, for lack of a better term, basically Fubo, Bally
Sports.
Trace.
That's two. That's two.
I'm glad to know that. How can I be this far behind? Like it's a technological miracle that this could still be a thing.
Well, the wild thing. The wild thing is, Trace, is I was behind Elliot. So, you're behind me and I'm behind Elliot, man. You're way out.
That's what I'm saying. I'm basically watching this game while guys are filing out of the parking lot in their cars, man. It's like, if you could go in a timeline of delay, it'd be hilarious to see. It'd be hilarious to see the sequence of events. People that are at the stadium, people listening on terrestrial radio, which I don't know how many still do that, but there's probably an okay amount. And then you, I would assume, move to the MLB TV app, and then after the MLB TV app, then you have your traditional cable providers, I'd assume, and then you have your streaming cable providers, and then there's Fubo.
Soon enough, Trace, you'll be on MLB TV next year. I think it's gonna happen.
I hope so, brother. Sir Boy Wonder with the super chat. Ellie went God mode. Well, he went some kind of mode today. I'll tell you who went God mode is that guy that picked that double clean straight off the ground. Do you see that? Do you see what I'm talking about?
I don't think I did.
Chat, you know what I'm talking about, chat? Who hit that ball out there to right field? He picked it clean right off of it. It might have been who hit that ball? You either get the joke or you don't.
Boom!
We won? Did we win the game? Nice to know.
We did.
Nice to know. Did he strike him out?
Win the game, Trace.
Did he strike him out? Don't tell me. I want to see it for myself.
Struck
him out. Struck him out. Okay. Nice to know. Max Muncy. I'm not starting this show until I see it myself. See ya, Max. Nice to know you, brother. We got a show to do. Congratulations on your great game yesterday. was a clean one. That was a clean one. Almost as clean as the first place Reds. Is that right, Nick? First place. July 30th.
First place.
That's a real thing, right?
It's real.
It is real.
There's no denying it.
The one thing that I seen David say in the chat that is true, we'll figure out how to do it later. We're not going to worry about it. You're going to have to get through it for this first show, or this show is specifically going to have to survive in advance, is Nick's mouth's a little bit off from his face. It is what it is. I see it, but just to make him aware of it so he's not being all, weird about it all show, like trying to figure out if it's true. It might be true, but you know what? Now? We'll figure it out now. What's that?
How are we looking now?
A lot better. I don't know. It looks like Kirby's got some voodoo magic at his house. I don't know what he's doing there, but that's here nor there. Let's get on with it. Reds win 9-0. I personally have been begging for one of these. When we come on here, we come on do this show. We go live in the 9th inning, and it's just ho hum. Let's enjoy our day. The Reds won. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to put Duarte in the game or Law in the game or whoever in the game, and then all of a sudden it's like, we really have to bring Diaz in. Don't have to do that today. Thank the Lord. Shout out Derek Law for some good innings. And we got a box score recap. Anything on your mind before we get into that box score recap?
Now let's just jump right into this bad boy. All right, Reds-Dodgers series finale, season finale against the Dodgers. Top of the first, Reds jumped all over the struggling Dodgers starting pitcher Michael Grove. Ellie De La Cruz led off the game with a single, smoked at 109 off the bat. Then TJ Friedl ripped a double to quickly put the Reds up 1-0. Matt McClain was hit by a pitch. Then Jake Fraley singled. That made it 2-0. And then a Spencer Steer RBI ground out made it a 3-run first inning for Cincinnati. Top of the second, Ellie De La Cruz hit a solo home run, 111 off the bat, 411 feet. That made it 4-0 Reds. Top of the third, Matt McClain hit a home run that just kind of kept carrying, somehow snuck out only 369 feet, but that made it 5-0 Reds. Then Joey Votto really put the hammer down on Michael Grove, hitting a 418-foot blast, 111.2 off the bat, 7-0 Reds. Graham Ashcraft, he threw 6 shutout innings. He only needed 85 pitches to get through 6 shutout. He's now got an ERA of 1.75 over his last 6 starts. Derek Law, Daniel Duarte, great in the bullpen, combined for 3 shutout innings. Reds added on a couple more. Reds win 9-0. Reds finished the season series 4-2 against the mighty LA Dodgers. Reds now 58-49 on the year. Brewers, they got swept by the Braves. Who could have possibly saw that coming? Reds are now in first place in the NL Central, half game ahead of Milwaukee. And don't look now, but your Cincinnati Reds have a positive run differential at +3. Let's go.
The stray shade. I love it. I mean, I don't know. The Brewers are a great team. I think they're a fantastic team. Phenomenal team. Unbelievable team. I'll tell you what, when I play the Brewers and I play the Braves, I immediately know that the Brewers are the real deal compared to the Braves. So I can't believe that you just sarcastically said that you can't possibly believe that the Braves swept the Brewers. But here we are. Like I said before, I think the Brewers, unbelievable team. Unbelievable team. They're probably going to go out and win 100 games. We'll see if it happens. DSC, Deep South Commodities. You know the drill. The deep drive of the day, you know what's cool about this is you could say, who is it, Trace? Who hit the deep drive of the day? I'm not sure because there's too many guys that hit absolute bombs today, and that is true. But you know who it is? It's Joey Votto. I don't know how many more of these we get to see. I'm not suggesting we don't get to see any more, nothing like that. I hope he kills it. I do think this is Joey's last year, so every time Joey Votto hits a home run, I think we should make an executive order now that he should be the deep drive of the game. I don't give a damn how far it goes. If the ball goes over the fence and Joey Votto hits it, he deserves to be the deep, deep drive of the game. Anyways, let's get back to it. Ad read. 111 miles an hour off the bat, Nick. I don't know if you know, but that's hard. That's a hard hit baseball. In Major League Baseball, if they keep track of that, it's called a hard hit baseball. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities and biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thank you again to our friends at Deep South Commodities. Nick, I got a little bit of a refresher yesterday. I was off the show. I'm feeling great, and I'm feeling refreshed. The Reds team looks like they feel refreshed. I don't know if that's a real thing or not, but it certainly felt that way today, and maybe that's just because they played well. I see it in the chat. Someone said, this team can be really good if they care or if they tried. I'm paraphrasing here. Hey, man, Major League Baseball in general is really hard. So that's just part of the deal. Sometimes this team's going to look great. Sometimes they might look bad. But over the course of a long year, the questions getting answered slowly but surely, in my opinion. You said it before, Nick. I've said it. We don't know what we have here, right? Like, was it just a good 2-month run of baseball, and then now we're going to see that the wheels start falling off and there's some cracks in the armor? But every time this team could have folded, could have laid down, they've answered the bell, Nick. Who didn't answer the bell was Errol Spence Jr. That's a whole nother story for another day for the boxing fans. Anyways, the Reds offense bangs is the first topic of conversation. Your overall thoughts of today, and then anything else that's on your mind, Nick Kirby.
You know, it really feels, Trace, like the Reds this year have really capitalized against pitchers that are struggling. Guys that came in maybe, not some of the best starters. Feels like the Reds have really beat up on those guys. And I know a lot of people could say, well, that they're supposed to do that. I think it's a lot harder said than done. I just there's been so many times in the past where you've been like, man, how can the Reds not be hitting this guy that came with an ERA of 7 over his last 6 starts, or his FIP's through the roof, or whatever it might be. Really feels like the Reds this year overall have made pitchers that are struggling struggle, and I think that's just been great to see. That's what this Reds team is going to have to do, because the Reds, they got through this stretch, this 9-10 stretch where we had talked about it at length. 9 games against the Brewers, 3 against the Giants, 3 against the 3 D-backs, 3 against the Dodgers. They went 9-10 in those games. Now they're going to get to play a lot of these more mediocre teams, a lot of more mediocre pitchers, and you're going to have to do like what you did today more often than not. You're going to still have games where you struggle. Just some guys have good nights and whatnot, but I think that's what's really encouraging, is that I think this young team can really beat up on bad pitching.
Yeah, it's almost like you're supposed to take care of who you're supposed to take care of, And again, I always cross-reference other sports, but it definitely feels like in the NFL sometimes good teams don't lose to basement feeders or bottom dwellers, whatever term you want to use. And that's what this Reds offense has done predominantly most of the year. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to do it every single time out. Of course not. However, you look at the Dodgers yesterday and you think to yourself, are the Dodgers, and I get it, they had a couple of the Dodgers, they really only have 2 hits against Luke Weaver, and that's kind of what you were saying, right? Like, if you were a Dodgers fan yesterday, you're going like, what are we doing? Like, we can't get a hit off this guy? He's got like a 9 ERA. And 80% of Reds fans want Weaver to be completely DFA'd, and next thing you know, he's got 2 hits through 5 innings or whatever it is. So your point stands. I also want to add, I think we have I don't want to say an enormous series. That's probably putting a little too much emphasis on. I think this is a pretty big series going into Chicago, and maybe you're going to say every series is a big series here on out because just we're getting down to the nitty-gritty time and the race is getting pretty close. But you have a Cubs team in the way they're playing that I think that's what makes this a little bit different than a normal Cubs series per se, right? The Cubs are playing well. They're playing good baseball. I'm not afraid to admit that. I mean, you could sit there and deny it all you want, but they have been playing really good baseball in the last 2-3 weeks, and this is one of those series where you can kind of put them back in their place a little bit, or you can let them right back in the race. That's the truth. And again, if we were to sweep them, and again, 4-game series, sweeping somebody is very, very unrealistic, I know. But if we were to sweep the Cubs, you can forget about their postseason chances, their hopes, their dash. They're completely gone. If they were to do the vice versa of that and sweep us, they'd be right back in the mix, and you could make the argument that they're just as good of a chance to win the division as maybe the Brewers or the Reds, whoever. So, if you told me right now we split with the Cubs, I'd take it, move on, keep it clean, because I think if this team plays 500 baseball for the next 20 days, then I think they have a really good chance to make the postseason. So, but that's here nor there. First, let's get into Graham Ashcraft. I thought he threw the ball again, stellar today, and he's starting to become the guy that we needed him to be to where if this Reds team doesn't make a move, I'm not saying you point directly to Graham Ashcraft, but you can give Graham Ashcraft some credit for that, because if he wasn't throwing the ball well at all, I don't think Nick Krall would have a choice. He'd have to go out and try to find some kind of help from a starting pitching perspective. But he's kind of been, not a saving grace, but he's definitely been a bright spot, and he looks like his old self. I didn't get a chance to see the interview that I seen they kind of went to during the game. Maybe you got a chance to see that and what he said on kind of what last year versus this year. I'll dig that back up and maybe listen to it later tonight. But anyways, I thought he threw the ball well, and that's a long-winded way of saying it.
He's had a really, really wild year. This is a really good synopsis here from Brandon at DeWink33. First 6 starts of the year, ERA of an even 2. Next 8, ERA of 12.82. And then his last 6 starts, an ERA of 1.75. So really just a wild year. Today, no walks. That's the first thing that jumps out to me. Good lineup at Dodger Stadium. You didn't walk anyone. Not a ton of hard hit balls. I think it was 5 or 6. So kind of a okay in that department. Not great, not terrible. But man, just what he's done and how he's turned around the season, it definitely, I think, makes the Reds probably feel a little bit more safe if they aren't able to find a match for a trade partner here at the deadline, that Graham Ashcraft has turned it around, and with Green and Lodolo hopefully coming back not too far off, he definitely, I think, gives them a little bit more flexibility in that, and he's been awesome. I know I've said it before. It's just like when he started this 6-game stretch here, we were about to send him to AAA. I mean, and I don't think we were really all that off on that. I think most people were with us. It's like, you got to do something here. It's not working. And not sure what he did to really just turn this thing around, but it's been an incredible ride.
A couple super chats here really quickly. Something with the super chat says, Abbott, Ashcraft, Green, deadly playoff rotation. I think that deadly is a strong word, something. I'm not trying to say it's deadly. I think it's formidable. I think it's something that we could go and say, hey, we got a chance. I wouldn't call it deadly. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, just being honest. And then Lisa says, like the damn stream. She didn't say damn, but I added that. Like the stream. With a 20 bomb. We like the stream. 370 people in here right now. We got 94 likes. All right, you know how this works. I don't know why we have to do this. It's a scientific thing. I feel like I'm in kindergarten teaching kindergartners. I've never done that, so maybe this is a bad example because I've never actually done that. But I'm just imagining having to teach kindergartners. Every day they come in, they got to hang their book bags on the hook or something. And it's just like every day you got to tell Johnny, put your book bag on the hook, brother. I told you this 19 times. Like the stream if you're in here, please. Of course, please. This isn't like a demand. It's kind of a demand, but we're asking you nicely, right? This is a voluntold situation. You know what coach tells you? Hey, we got volunteer hitting on Sunday at 8 a.m. It ain't volunteer, my man. I'm going to tell you right now. Volunteer, he might have said that it's volunteer, but it's not volunteer. It's voluntold. That's exactly what it is. All right. We do have Jack McMullen coming up. I know that he's obviously probably game went very, very quick, comparatively speaking to what we expected. So he'll come in here at around 7 o'clock. You have 7 o'clock. So for those that don't know Jack, I'll let Kirby kind of shine some light on him. I don't want to misspeak by any means, but he's coming up at 7. What should we come to expect when Jack arrives?
Yeah, Jack is one of the play-by-play announcers for the Indianapolis Indians, who just finished 6 games against the Louisville Bats. Jack also covers baseball in a national perspective for just baseball. So I'm really excited to hear what his thoughts were on Noelvi Marte, Connor Phillips, Levi Stout, Jose Barrero. Just saw those guys over the last 6 days. So that'd be a great time to bring him on. And so looking forward to talking to Jack. You want to talk a little bit more about the offense today?
I wasn't trying to blow past it.
How about Ellie De La Cruz? I mean,
how'd I know? How did I know Nick Kirby was going to bring up Ellie De La Cruz? I mean, how did I know? I seen Ellie had like 4 hits today, and I thought, oh my God, I don't know if Kirby's going to be able to make it to the stream. I'm just wondering if he's like getting jittery, needs to take some kind of some. That's beside the point. I wasn't going to say it. I won't say it. A kid show. It's a kid show. All right. Anyways, you're going to get blamed for doing drugs anyways, and I wasn't going to try to put that in your own mouth because I don't. For those that don't know, Nick Kirby is as clean as a whistle. Okay, he doesn't do that. Now I know you guys in the chat. I know you guys always want to act like he's doing something because it's a funny joke, but he's as clean as they come.
Listen, clarifying that.
I'm glad. Yeah, I didn't want there to be any kind of speculation out there. Listen, Ellie is Ellie. I've said this 1,000 times. I don't know why we have to keep doing this in a way. Should we bring up the fact that he had a great game? Yes, we should. But I don't think we should come. What's the right word to use? And maybe I'm not being grateful enough. I kind of come to expect this a little bit from him. Like he's too good to struggle for extended periods of time and not at least bring something to the table. Elliot, who did a great job as always when it comes to the show, he mentioned yesterday, and I think you guys got a super chat, when are we allowed to be concerned about Ellie? And I thought Elliot did a great job of saying, the things that he brings to the table that are not his baseball bat, not when he steps in the box, are valuable enough to play on this team on a regular basis. His speed, his defensive abilities, the fact that he can play shortstop and third base, and he does them both exceptional, in my opinion, speaks for itself. So is it nice to see him get going a little bit, Nick? Of course it is, but I kind of expected that. Am I being too ungrateful to just sit here and assume that Ellie De La Cruz is going to tear the cover off the baseball eventually? Because some of my belief system comes from the fact that he hits the ball so damn hard. He goes like 2 for his last 20, but some of those outs he makes, Nick, are like 110-mile-an-hour line drives right at guys.
Yeah, I think that we should expect that Ellie De La Cruz is going to be an above-average player. Now, an above-average player might be a 220 batting average when it's all said and done, but he's going to do enough with his power, with his defense, with his speed, that's going to make him an above-average player. So I think we should expect that, but I think we should also allow him to be a rookie, to be a young player that's just getting his feet wet at the big league level. So I think it's got to be a little bit of both. And the same probably applies to Matt McClain and Spencer Steer and some of these other guys. And really like TJ Friedl, he's been a guy that I've been high on all year. Nice night today, 2 for 5. He's got 4 multi-hit games over his last 8. I don't want to crush people, but it's like Friedel's had like 5 straight months where he had been an above average hitter. He'd been a consistent player, and he has 1 month where he struggles, and we're like, boom to the end of the lineup. Like, we got to do something. Like, you have to let these guys struggle a little bit. And that's, I think, what makes David Bell, I think, a really, really good manager, is that he allows that. And I think that is a big reason why this culture's been set where young players can come up and have some instant success, is because that you put a lot of faith, you put a lot of trust into them. And I think that's an important thing to remember kind of as the season plays on. And it's been as good as we possibly could have dreamed here, into August.
Yeah. The one person if you want to say, when are we allowed to get concerned about him yet, would be CES, largely because I think that there was a lot of hype with him coming in. He's been a rookie so far to a small extent. I don't think he's comfortable right now. I think, and I guess my point is, I don't think it's the pitching. Like, some people are like, oh, AAA pitching versus Major League pitching. I don't think it's that right now with him. I think it's just this desire to want to do so well that you're trying to overachieve a little bit, and you're chasing, and I'm saying chasing pitches, but you're pulling off the ball just a little bit because you're trying to, I don't want to say you're trying to provide power, but you just, in a way, you are. So I hope, and I'm not suggesting CES needs to get sent down or anything like that. Let me be very clear. I think he should continue to develop, and let's just keep giving him at bats and let him struggle through it, and eventually he'll find himself out on the other side of this. I'm fairly confident in. But I'd like to see him get back to just driving the ball the other way if it's pitched outside. Don't feel like you got to pull off everything. And I know that's easier said than done, but I think he's pressing a little bit right now, and I hope that goes away. I hope, and I'm not saying it takes somebody to tell him that, but it'd be nice if, somebody pulled him to the side. Maybe they already have, but like, hey, listen, man, you can go 0 for your next 20. You're still going to be here. Just relax and play. You don't have to you don't have to be a hero every time you come up. So he's chasing pitches. But as to your point, Nick, and you said this all along, he has flaws. I mean, a part of what you have always said about him having to get, some work down in the minor leagues was the fact that he does chase pitches and his walk rate isn't very good. And those things change, to be fair to him, a little bit towards the end. But are you worried, or where are you at with CES?
CES has really been in a tough spot where he clearly should not have been in AAA as long as he was. And I don't really necessarily blame the Reds on that. I think it was a tough spot because they had just so many players that burst onto the scene that were ahead of schedule. So it's kind of like he'd been down there so long and he finally got caught up. It probably put more pressure on himself than needed to be. And then he comes up and he's also kind of in a rotation. And I don't want to say, like, Jonathan Indy getting hurt is obviously not a blessing for the Reds in any way, but for CES, he's going to get a chance now to play pretty much every day. So that there might be a little bit of pressure taken off of, all right, hey, I know I'm going to start 4 or 5 games this week. Hey, I know I'm going to start all 6 games this week. Doesn't matter if I go 0 for my next 12. David Bell's going to put me in the lineup the next day. And so, I don't know, maybe that can also kind of help him in his development, just knowing that he's going to get to play every day.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you never really know. Tomorrow, CES could hit 2 home runs, and everybody is like, oh, there he is. There's that guy that we knew or come to expect. And next thing you know, just like Ellie. I mean, yesterday, and I'm not suggesting that it was a bad topic of conversation. I thought it was relevant. It was rightfully to be discussed. But, how worried should we be about Ellie? And then the next day, he's got 4. He had 4 hits, right?
Yep.
So yeah, if he has 4 hits, hits a home run, and damn near clears Dodger Stadium, and it's rightful to be concerned about guys that have not proven themselves, and for 70 to 80% of this lineup, that's what we got. We don't know what we have. I mean, it's wild to think, but that's the facts. Do you want to speculate a little bit? We talked about this a little bit the other day. We're getting closer and closer to the deadline. We're obviously about 15 minutes here until Jack joins us. I'm not overly speculative one way or the other about Verlander. I think it's an interesting thing. I wonder, from your perspective, the fact that he went out and he did his, I'm not suggesting, I guess I am. He threw the ball so well today, and he's been throwing the ball so well of late, that do you convince yourself a little bit more than you would if he went out today and gave up 7 runs or 6 runs in 3 innings? You kind of like, oh, see, there's Verlander. He's 40 years old. You don't want to invest too much in him. But then today he goes out and he dominates, he shoves, and you're like, I don't know, man. Maybe you do give up a low-level prospect guy. And I say low-level not in the rankings of the sense, but in the level of play that they're at, a Collier type. But Collier's a baby, so I'm not suggesting he's the guy. But you get my point. It's tempting. And you know what? I don't know if it would be I guess my point is, I don't think it'd be a bad move. It would just come down to how much are the Mets willing to pay of his salary, right? Which is this, Nick. When everyone wants to tell Trace and you and whoever else, when they want to say, hey, small market teams can win, all they got to do is develop. They got to do X, Y, Z, and they can hang with the big dogs. Well, here's where the big dogs matter. Because if this was the Dodgers or if this was Boston or New York or whoever else right now, Nick, they'd be like, yeah, we'll give you a single A prospect and we'll just eat a lot of the salary because we don't give a shit because we got the money. Now, we don't have the money. So we're kind of in a spot where we gotta find a way to make it worth it from a prospects level. Or they got to give us a lot back.
Well, I think in this case, I think the Mets want to take on the salary, and they're basically buying prospects with the contract. That's correct. That's essentially what they're doing. That's what they did with Max Scherzer. I'm sure they were telling teams, and if you were a Mets fan and you were promised, Steve Cohen's gonna spend like no one else, you want him to be eating these contracts that he signed to get prospects back if you're going to give these players up. So I don't really think it's really has anything to do with how much the Reds are willing to eat or not willing to eat. It's a
little bit of it is.
Well, I mean, Justin Verlander has no trade value if they're not eating the contract. I mean,
I'm saying if you were to tell the Mets right now that you're going to eat the whole entire salary, so you don't have to worry about that anymore. We're just going to take the money. Like it's going to cost us a lot. You're not going to get Cam Collier, but you're going to get Jorge. or you're going to get somebody else that you might want to hold on to. Like, my point is that you could probably convince the Mets that we're going to take a little bit more of the salary, which we're not, and give a little bit of a lower level prospect in return. And I think they might bite on that versus we're not in a position to be able to do that. We got to just fight for our prospect. Like, we got to have to sell off prospects. And you could say they might not do that, but I think that they would.
I don't know. I mean, if that was the case, like Houston, I don't know why Houston wouldn't have already jumped on that and have gotten him, because Houston, I would assume, has more money to spend and could take on that full contract, but they don't have a single top 100 prospect. So I don't know. If I was a Mets fan, I would be saying, Cohen, you need to be eating most of this. You need to be eating as much as you possibly can to get you the absolute highest return. And I think that's what the Mets are doing. That's what everything is, at least that I've read, has said. Now, some stuff on Verlander today, if I'm reading into this correctly, it sounds like Verlander at this point is not agreed to be traded. And so it sounds like the Mets might have some stuff in play, but Verlander at this point is not agreed to be traded. So I think the ball's really in his court. Now, if you remember back when he got traded to Houston, he was actually traded at the waiver deadline when that was still a thing. And it went down to like the last couple minutes before that deadline, and Verlander finally like caved and said, "Hey, I'll be traded." So it might be an interesting thing. And Verlander also has a vesting option for 2025. I don't know if you can rewrite the contract to say that automatically gets picked up in the middle of the contract or not. I don't know the answer to that, but that could also be something he might be wanting to use as leverage as this plays out. This could be very interesting to see how he plays out, not just for the Reds, but for anyone else over the next less than 47 hours. 47 hours. We should have a clock on this, Trace. Next year, we got to get a clock on the trade deadline.
You want a clock? Like, get a clock. We'll get a clock. You want a clock, Nick?
You
want a clock?
Like on CNN, polls close in 18 hours and 43 minutes. Like, we need that for the trade deadline.
CNN. Never heard of it. Is that a news station?
I think so.
No. All right. I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
That was a very bad miscalculation.
It's all good. We'll cover all the bases right now. It could be an MSNBC countdown. It could be a Fox News countdown. All right. That should take care of the comments. All right. Where do I go from here? I would just, final thoughts on it. I don't think that you could say it's a bad deal one way or the other. I think you can make a clear case argument over why you should take Verlander and why you shouldn't take Verlander based off of the prospects, obviously. And when I say based off the prospects, I'm just going off of a Collier-type player, right? Somebody that's valuable but is young. You could make the argument that you don't know for sure if they're going to end up being a decent Major League Baseball player because, well, they're really young. You could also make the argument that Collier could be a 12 to 13 to 14 year all-star and go into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and that is also still possible. Probably not, but you get my point. Is there any other really big names, and I say big names, I don't think there's really any other big names per se that are even still available for the Reds to have a realistic shot at, right? I know Ohtani got floated around there weeks ago, but that is completely blasphemous. That's not happening. But outside of that, you have Verlander. Is there even anyone else that I'm not aware of right now off the top of my head, or that maybe people that are like me who don't dig deep into the well on the trade possibilities? Is there anyone else that comes to mind?
Well, Eduardo Rodriguez of the Tigers was mentioned, as the Reds actually have had some contact about him. He's got a really weird opt-out where I believe most people think he's going to opt out at the end of this year, which makes him a rental. But if, say, he came to Cincinnati and just completely fell off the face of the earth, he still owed quite a bit of money. I think he's got like 2 more years on his contract, so he's kind of a different one. The big thing is, are the Padres selling or not? Is Blake Snell available? No one really knows if the Padres are going to pivot that way. Lorenzen's still out there. The Cardinals, they traded Jordan Montgomery already, so they do have Jack Flaherty. Would they do an interdivision trade? But that's pretty much it. I think it's probably Verlander or Rodriguez or bust for the Reds. I don't think the Reds are going to look to add a Lorenzen type starter. I could be wrong, but I don't see that. I think the Reds and Nick Kroll are saying we're not giving up any prospects for Lance Lynn or Michael Lorenzen. We'll consider it for Justin Verlander, who could, you bring him in and could win you a playoff series almost on his own, right? That's kind of how I see it. I think the Reds ultimately will be adding a couple relievers, and that'll probably be what the deadline looks like.
Yeah, Edward Rodriguez here pulled up his baseball reference for those that are looking to reference it here really quickly. Guy's had a pretty damn good year this year, based off of his traditional stats, if you want to go off that. But anyways, 30 years old. I don't know. I mean, what would you be open to that, or are you just saying that that's part of an opportunity?
It just depends how much are you giving up. I haven't heard what the Tigers are looking for.
Are we talking top 100 prospects goods or no?
Yeah, I don't think I'm giving up Cam Collier for him. I don't know, man. He's a tough one. He's one that could definitely be an absolute difference maker, but I'd have a tough time.
I'll take Verlander. I'll take Verlander if we can find a way to make sure that he's available next year. Like he can't opt out or whatever. And I would be willing. Go ahead.
He's under contract next year. He has a vesting option for 2025, where if he throws 140 innings in 2024, that automatically gets picked up. 2025 is $35 million. Next year's $43 million. But you would be expecting that the Mets are probably picking up about $30 million next year, which is what they picked up for Scherzer.
How many times do you think that this situation arises? In Verlander, you'll never he's another guy you're not 100% sure what you're getting because he's so old. However, he might just be one of those guys that just seems like, Tom Brady-esque, where you write Tom Brady off 5-6 years before he actually should be written off type thing. Verlander is special. So I don't think it's one of those things where you could I don't think that you could just point to Verlander's age and be like, automatically he's out, because most people don't pitch at this. Like, 'cause I don't know. That seems like a wild thing to say in regards to Verlander specifically. However, how many times do you get an opportunity as a franchise like the Reds to where you're in a position where you're very, very young, you don't have a ton of money on the books next year, and you can essentially trade for a guy that you have to spend a ton of money normally to get, and another team's going to eat most of that in return what they're asking for are prospects. And those prospects, to be fair, they might cost you a lot. But I'm just saying that opportunity in and of itself to get a Verlander for the Reds at this stage of his career doesn't come around all that often, if ever.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a little more willing to go for Justin Verlander than, even Lucas Giolito. And I don't know. I very well could be just drinking the Kool-Aid on this, but man, right. You get Justin Verlander a playoff series, and I know experience can be very overrated, but at the same time, this is Justin Verlander. I mean,
yeah, trust me, I can be convinced. I can be convinced to do it. I know that we've been prospect huggers on this show for pretty much our existence. I don't think we've ever one time in this show decided that we were going to be like, you know what, let's go, forget it, forget the farm. But I do think that there's some people that scream and yell about the prospect thing, Nick. They want to scream and yell at you. They at you. They make fun of, not make fun of. They don't make fun of you, of course. You can't be made fun of, Nick. But my point is that they have a little bit of a point that if one guy or two guys breaks your whole entire foundation of your farm system, then you probably don't have that good of a farm system anyways. That's a little bit of a fair point. You know who else could probably speak on our farm system? Jack. Jack's in the house. Let's bring him in now. Jack, you're going to have to give me a second to get your audio squared away. I think you're probably good to go now. Thank you for joining the show. I don't know how much you heard about us sitting here speculating about Verlander. I don't know if you have anything that you want to add on that before we get into the nuts and bolts of what you might know best.
Heard a lot of it. It's probably not good that I'm hopping on right now because you guys are already prospect huggers, and I am one of the bigger prospect huggers, I think, in baseball. So that's a serious issue that I'll need to address. I think that's an off-season thing for me to tackle, and
Gotcha.
be conversations with non-baseball people to help me address that.
Fair enough. Nick, go ahead.
All right, Jack. Well, excited to have you on, especially after the Louisville Bats just played against the Indianapolis Indians. Were you on the call for all 6 games?
I was on the call for 3, and then I was around the ballpark for 2 of the other days. Had a great conversation with Connor Phillips, which is coming out on our prospect podcast, The Call Up. It's about 10 minutes, and we talk about Connor's pitch mix and his acclimation to triple after using that pre-tack baseball in the Southern League. So really good conversation for you guys to look out for.
All right, well, let's jump into Connor Phillips. Give us a little – you don't have to – we want everyone to listen to your podcast. We want you to hype that at the end for sure. But give us a little bit of a – what was your thoughts overall on Connor Phillips? I think did he have a good start, but he walked a bunch of guys this week?
Yeah, so it was like run prevention is the name of the game, and I think it was 5 innings of 1-run ball. So he did his job there, 5 punch-outs, but 5 walks as well. And he's coming off of an outing where he was, 7 shutout innings, 11 punchies, and 2 walks. So, I mean, this guy, has electric stuff. And we talked about that. He knows he has electric stuff. And, the gift in that arm is special. And that's a major league arm by sheer arm talent alone. And a lot of what we kind of talked about in this, 10-minute conversation is how do I rein it in? How do I find, success within the strike zone? He's got a really high spin, high vertical break fastball that plays well at the top of the zone. That was very easy in AA with that pre-tack baseball. Now he goes to the Major League Baseball, and it's not often you talk about the ball itself, but that's kind of the issue that you've been presented with in AA this year, especially, it was only the Southern League, so Chattanooga, they're running into that issue. But I think once Connor kind of gets his fastball command exactly where he needs it, and he's 22 in triple, I think that's a matter of when, not if, this guy can be really special in terms of getting whiffs within the strike zone.
So I don't think you actually got a chance to see Andrew Abbott pitch this year, correct?
Not live. Obviously, I watch a ton of video, as does Arm Layton. So I watched probably close to full minor league starts before he made his big league debut.
So for Reds fans, obviously the easy thing is, all right, where is Connor Phillips on the Andrew Abbott scale? I know that's maybe not a fair question, but I'm going to ask you.
No, that's fine. I appreciate you asking me. It's so apples to oranges with those two guys because they are I think exact opposite pitchers. And Abbott was a pitchability guy, and the stuff got better kind of as he grew up at Virginia and in pro ball. Phillips, it's all stuff. How do you rein it in and find that perfect middle ground where you have command too, and you find that polish? I think on the Abbott scale, if Abbott is a 10 when he came up, Phillips is probably a 7. But I would put Lodolo at an 8, and I would put Green at a 7. I don't know. There were some serious things that Green needed to work through when he first got up for his major league debut. Lodolo kind of could hit the ground running. There wasn't much tinkering that had to happen with his arsenal. Kind of same deal with Abbott. There's going to be no tinkering there. With Phillips, I think he's going to hit some of the similar roadblocks that Hunter Green hit in his first, however many starts.
So do you think the Reds should call up Connor Phillips this year? Do you think you let him sit?
I don't know, man. You see a 5-walk outing and you probably just shudder a little bit because, 5 walks in triple turns into 5 walks in the bigs, and big league hitters will jump on the one pitch that finds the strike zone. He's so young. He's 22 years old in triple. I don't think, especially if the Reds are in this wild card race or this division race, I don't think it makes much sense to thrust that guy into a high intensity situation, but I think that's a guy to watch out of camp for next year.
So there's no situation, right. I was going to ask, there's no situation in your mind that you could see playing out, and the Reds have got themselves in a position now, I would argue, Jack, that the starting pitching maybe isn't as bad. Maybe that's not the right term to use, but it's not as dire as it may have looked about a month ago, right? Where you're starting to question whether or not you could even piecemeal a 3-man rotation, let alone a 5-man rotation. Thank the Lord Jesus Christ for Andrew Abbott, because if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure that we would have been able to stay around to watch much baseball, because people would have probably already counted the Reds out. However, you're basically saying, is there any situation though that you could say, maybe I would go to Connor if this happened? And I know that's not fair, but that's what we do here.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Well, when the Reds had Justin Verlander, I think this problem is easily avoided. So that's the big thing that I think we can just kind of cross off. Well, I mean, they're getting Lodolo and Green back at the end of August, it sounds like. What, mid-August ETA for Lodolo and Green right after, or do I have it backwards?
I think Green's first, correct, Nick?
Green's first.
Yeah, Green's August 20th is the target. Lodolo's somehow into August.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I mean, I think with those reinforcements coming, you don't force it. I think the go-to, nice lasso mug, by the way, Nick. I think the go-to idea with Connor Phillips is probably, hey, is he going to come up and throw 2 innings at a time? Is he going to come up and throw an inning at a time? I don't think you need to do that to that guy. I think the Orioles did it last year in a wild card chase with DL Hall, who was their premier left-handed pitching prospect. I think they did it because Hall was already flawed as a starting pitching prospect. He was a guy that was throwing 100, had a great changeup, was working on that slider, but I mean, he couldn't throw a strike to save his life. So they were like, okay, you know what? This is probably going to work out in a multi-inning relief role. Same deal with Matt Brash in Seattle. I don't think you need to do that with Phillips. I think this guy is good enough. He's got the pitch mix to be a major league starting pitcher. I don't think you need to thrust him into a setup role, even if the situation is dire.
Fair enough.
All right. Let me ask you about another pitcher that you got to see this week. Lyon Richardson, a guy who has flown through the Reds system, who, at least to me, it feels like the Reds are pushing him to add him at some point this year to the roster. I could be wrong. What was your thoughts on this guy who made his AAA debut and just struck out 5 batters in 3 innings?
Yeah, that's a guy that screams setup guy. He totally is that high leverage reliever as you guys are pushing for a wild card or a division. So I think Lyon put together half of the most competitive pitching matchup I've seen this year, and that was Lyon Richardson and Jared Jones for Indy. And Jones has, broken out in a huge way. He's probably a top 100 prospect. He's one of the best pitching prospects, if not the best, in the Pirates organization. Jones topped at 99.9. Richardson topped at about 98.9 or maybe 99.1. Those guys, it was like the most hyper masculine, insane back and forth matchup you had, where it was, I'm going to throw the hell out of the ball. Next half inning, other guy's going to throw the hell out of the ball. That's a fireballer in every sense of the word. He's confident as heck. I think that guy makes a lot of sense in high leverage moments in September.
All right, Noelvi Marte. He has been tearing it up at AAA, somehow putting up better numbers at AAA, and of course, sticky ball added to that.
Careful, Nick.
Had a pretty good week, and the Indians have some pretty solid pitching prospects at their level right now.
Yeah, no, his one homer this week was 420 dead center off Jared Jones, and it was like the one mistake that Jones made. And yeah, the Indians were running out good pitchers. Jones was the best, and the fact that Noelvi took the best deep was really impressive. This guy's bat is so good for a 21-year-old. It has no business being this advanced. Yes, the swing can get long at points, but I've seen him push 105, 106 to right center. This guy is so gifted with the stick. Question now becomes, where is he going to play? Is he going to get better at the position that he plays at defensively? But offensively, I mean, this guy is so ridiculously exciting.
All right, Jose Barrero, kind of a guy that a lot of Reds fans have written off, some fair, some not, has rejuvenated his career to some extent at AAA. What do you think about where he's at, and do you think he's a guy the Reds should be looking maybe to be shopping here over the next 46 hours? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess probably see what you can get for Jose Barrero, because he's tried and unfortunately hasn't succeeded several times now at the major league level. And each quote unquote failed audition you have at the big league level diminishes your value a little bit more. Barrero, he's certainly not at the profile that Kelenic was at, but Jared Kelenic, I mean, this was like last chance for him to succeed, and he did succeed in Seattle. For Barrero, he was given multiple opportunities to succeed, and he just never really did it. Obviously, he's got tools, man. Obviously, he's got a howitzer of an arm. He's got juice. I mean, he lined a homer to right center. It had no business getting out, but I mean, like, he hit it that hard on a clothesline, and it got out in the blink of an eye. Barrero, I don't know where his value is, and I think that's the trickiest part. Nick Krall definitely knows where his value is, and I think Nick Krall is going to make a good decision with Jose Barrero.
What about Jason Vossler? I mean, this is hard-hitting journalism. What about Jason Vossler? Yeah, what do you got on him?
Didn't see Vossler play this week, man.
What's going on?
Start in April. That's the last I remember of Jason Vossler.
Damn, tough.
Hold on here. Look at this bottom line here on Jason Vossler. He threw a scoreless inning today.
When did this happen?
The lead.
What?
Today he pitched the last inning of the game. I mean, it was a blowout.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I was mentally checked out.
Jason Vossler pitching doesn't bring the same excitement level.
Yeah.
All right, I got one last guy to ask you about, and then I want you to hype up all the great stuff you guys do at Just Baseball. Levi Stout, a guy that maybe has kind of gotten a little forgotten about, had a pretty good outing this week. Where do you think his career is kind of at right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, are you going to make the move to the pen, or are you going to be a starting pitcher? I think he can be a starting pitcher. I'm impressed with Levi Stout, but obviously he ran into some serious issues in his major league debut and, the couple of outings after that as well. So it's always tough to peg those guys that are solid at the AAA level, go up and, get the doors blown off. And unfortunately, that was Levi Stout. So I don't know, we'll see. I think that's a guy that you can totally turn into a bullpen piece and see if the stuff ticks up. Fastball, if I'm not mistaken, is right around 93, 94. If that guy turns into 96, 97, he can be a legit reliever for the Cincinnati Reds. I saw the Pirates do that with Carmen Mlodzinski, who was a first-round pick in 2020. Mlodzinski was 92 to 94 with the heater. This spring, they moved him into a 1 or 2 inning relief role, and then all of a sudden he was popping 97, 98. So I think if Stout kind of follows that path and really leans on his two best pitches, you could see him as a bullpen guy. But I think it's probably time to assess how that guy looks on the Cincinnati Reds instead of this is a project as a starting pitcher.
Trace, you got any other questions?
No, I've done my big J journalism hitting already. I'm all struck out.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that, Jack.
Well, Jack, I've said it a million times, Just Baseball, the absolute best place for national coverage, especially with the trade deadline. Tell us what all you got in the works and what everyone can find at Just Baseball.
Yeah, so we've got a whole bunch of deadline coverage coming out. Obviously, we're doing the podcast 5 days a week, but we're going to do a little live show for the deadline. It's going to be, I think, the hour leading up to the trade deadline. So I think that's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, 6 Eastern. So we'll be live streaming 4:30 or 5 to 6. Yeah, a whole bunch of written stuff. JustBaseball.com will be the place to be. We've got a deadline tracker. We have a whole bunch of good stuff going on there editorially. And then, man, we've had a really unique opportunity to get Walker Buehler's thoughts every week, who grew up a Reds fan, Lexington, Kentucky guy. So we're going to talk to Buehler about Kike Hernandez and Joe Kelly rejoining the fold. And if Lance Lynn has taken his spot, I don't think he's taken his spot.
Ask him how he likes the Reds.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Tough season series against Reds. No, that's a really good show. And Walker also was a big bourbon guy and always has some interesting facts. I enjoy that.
Yeah, dude, I've had more Buffalo Trace in the last 2 months than I've had in my life. And I love it. I'm really not upset about it.
The real question is, Jack, do you have any cinnamon whiskey?
Cinnamon? No, I've done like the screwball thing, like the peanut butter one, but
Yeah,
like
no.
good. I prefer just old reliable. Give me the sternum burn, and I'm good to go.
All right, fair enough, Jack. Also, just to make sure clear here, I don't know how many of our audience are boomers, but when he says justbaseball.com, he means JUST baseball.com. Please don't go to baseball.com. All right, just to clear the air there, Jack, I want to make sure JUST baseball.com is where you can find your guys' great work. Correct?
Can I ask for a guess as to what you would find if you went to baseball.com? Because I've never tried.
Actually, you know what? We'll do it live right here on the air. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Ready for this?
I'm thinking either baseball equipment or rules of the sport.
That's a great guess, but you know what? The fact of the matter is that
I hope it's website for sale.
You would be wrong, because this is what you get. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Look how great that is, Jack.
Wait, baseball equipment. I wasn't totally wrong.
Can you believe that? How long do you think that those folks have been holding out on baseball.com and they're just waiting for the highest bidder, and the highest bidder has just never come?
Dude, the price of that domain name has to be through the freaking roof.
That's actually why you show up to this show right here. For that small little segment that we just did, that's why you actually come and watch this show.
Yes.
Nick, you got anything else for Jack?
No, Jack, you're the best. Thanks so much for making time for us tonight.
No, you guys are awesome. Talk whenever.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Take care, man. See you. All right. Thank you to Jack, by the way. Very nice of him to join us, provide some insight, and, hey, I was curious to see what his thoughts were on Mr. Vossler, and he acted like he hadn't seen him in a while, which is kind of wild.
He's kind of been out of the lineup a little bit. Poor Vossler. He's just a relief pitcher, I guess, at this point.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I looked at Mr. Vossler July 29th. He went 0 for 5. So
is that his last at bat?
Yeah. I mean, that's based off my game logs.
That's something. I don't know what's going on. We need to really have some hard hitting journalism on what has happened to. No, he did play. He did play yesterday, but he had a rough series. He was 0 for 9 in the series against Indianapolis.
Not good.
But threw a scoreless inning.
Had a big time hit on opening day.
One we'll never forget.
All right, we got some Reds in MLB, Nick. Let us hear about it.
All right, I'll try to go quick since I've already had a whole segment on Reds in MLB. But Louisville Bats, they lost 11-3. Noelvi Marte was 2 for 4. Just continuing to hit really, really well at the AAA level. Jose Barrero got the day off, and then Jason Vossler, as mentioned, pitched a scoreless inning. What a guy. Double-A Chattanooga, they lost 7-5. Blake Dunn had another great day. He was 3 for 4, drove in 2. Reese Hines was 1 for 3. And then the Dayton Dragons, they won 4-2. The Dragons, they have won 8 of their last 9. They've improved to 50-46, and the Dragons are now in a tie with Fort Wayne for first place in the East Division of the Midwest League. Arroyo was 1 for 5 with a stolen base, his 22nd of the season. And then the Tortugas, well, our fellas down there, their struggles continue. They've lost 6 straight games, now 40-53 on the season, as they lost 7-4 to Lakeland. Cam Collier did have a good day today. 2 for 5 with a double. Victor Costa, 2 for 3 with 2 walks. And that is your Reds MLB presented by Betfred Sportsbook.
Shout out to Betfred Sportsbook. And shout out to DSC. I also want to say, this is slightly breaking news. Possibly, maybe. It's up to the chat, actually. It's up to the chat. There is another sponsor that is interested in what we're doing. And I say we as in Chatterbox, maybe not specifically Chatterbox Reds, but I'll loop them into the Chatterbox Reds. I don't think I can do it this year, though, because I know it's no free ads, but it is a Pilsner situation. It is a Pilsner situation. And the Pilsner situation, I don't think I can change. I know we should just take the money. I'm not stupid. All right. I get it. Like, oh, you're running this company, Trace. You should be like trying to take in any advertisers you can. I got to be honest, guys. I got to be honest. I don't want to have to change things up. Maybe going fresh into next year, I'll think about it. Maybe I'll consider it. Maybe that'll ruin the relationship if I say no right now. But I'm just saying, like, people are asking, is it Bud Light? It's not Bud Light. Okay, we'll start there. It's not Bud Light. It's not Bud Light. I don't want this to turn into that. We're not turning this into that. But it might be an Anheuser-Busch product. I just don't know if I can do it. I just don't know if I could do it. I can't tell you because we can't do free ads. You have to leave it to your own imagination, chat. I'm just saying it is an Anheuser-Busch product. You can probably figure it out from there. It is a light beer. No free ads. Although I say no free ads. Can you see this? Look at the pain that this can has gone through. You see that? Look at that. That is a gritty can. I mean, that thing right there has gone. That looks like that's a Cal Ripken type can right there.
Have you been sipping out of the same can all year?
No.
Just one sip for every win.
Although some people, Everett Henry would tell me that I was that one night. But just saying. We'll see. Now I got the chat and going through every imaginable beer possible. Some people don't know what beer brands are which because I told you it was Anheuser-Busch. So, just saying. All right. I just don't think I can do it. I don't think I could do it. But you never know. If the price is right, people. The price is right. I just don't think. I don't know if I can do it.
Are you trying to Nick Kroll negotiate this brand live on the air? Are you trying to help the
I might send him this clip. It's not always about money with me. It's not. I mean, listen, I'll turn down a sponsor or two if I think that they're not somebody that I would want to promote. But, as always, there is a price. I mean, if someone came in with $1 million, then we'd be selling it like hotcakes. And even if it was, maybe it couldn't be a scam. I don't want to make it sound like I'd sell a scam, but it could be a pretty bad product, and I'd be on here chirping it up. All right. Is there anything left outside of the Nicolas Cage pillow and a dunk that we haven't gotten to? I guess, yeah. Good. Thank you. I always love when you do that. Who, what, when, where, and why?
All right, Reds, 4-game series against the Chicago Cubs starting on Monday night. The Cubs, they had won 8 in a row before they were shut out 3-0 by the Cardinals on Sunday. Cubs are a Major League best 15-7 since July 4th. A lot of speculation about what the Cubs will do at the trade deadline. They said there's a report they're not going to trade Cody Bellinger. Report they're still listening to Monday's starting pitcher, Marcus Stroman. So maybe we'll see him, maybe we won't. Marcus Stroman having a great year. He's got a 3.51 ERA, but in July, he's got a 7.99 ERA in 5 starts. He's pitched a little better at Wrigley Field. ERA just over 3 at home. ERA just over 4 on the road. Reverse splits this year. Lefties are actually hitting significantly worse against him than righties. He has a really great 2.55 career ERA against the Reds, but has not faced the Reds this season. And then for the Reds, it'll be Andrew Abbott. He's been incredible over his last 2 starts. No runs in 14 innings. Can't do much better than that. Abbott has never faced the Cubs, but he did face the Iowa Cubs. That was actually his first ever AAA start. And Christopher Morel and Michael Tauchman were both in the lineup, who are both typically in the Cubs lineup. Morel hit a home run against them. So Reds Cubs Monday 8:05. Trace, I love when the Reds and Cubs are both good or relative or whatever, and there's games at Wrigley Field, especially at night. I just feel like there's a different kind of energy than a lot of other games.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't get wrapped up in Wrigley as much as others do. I think that it's a cool. What's the right word to hear? I don't want to do it injustice. I think it's a cool park. I guess I don't get wrapped up in the nostalgia of Wrigley as maybe as I should. I think that the ivy on the wall is neat, but outside of that, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that it's like this unbelievable place. And I think a lot of that comes from my just sheer fact that they're division rivals, and it may or may have something to do with Reed Mouse. I don't know.
I think that Fenway's a significantly. It's not even like they're not even the same stratosphere of the parks. I do think like when the Cubs are even average and you're playing them in a night game, there's some really, really awesome energy. Like I think back to 2019, Reds were out of the race, but the Cubs were in the race. Reds ended up knocking the Cubs out of that race, which was awesome. But there was just a really cool energy. And it was, I don't know, maybe it was just because like that whole month of September, it was really just kind of playing out the string. And then you play these games against the Cubs, and there was just like this energy that kind of came out of nowhere. So I don't know. I'm excited.
No, it's fair. It's fair. Elliot is going to be in Wrigley, I believe on Wednesday or Thursday with Reed. We have something we have to do for an event up in Chicago, and unfortunately, I'm not able to go to that. However, they will be there. So shout out to Elliot. Hope he brings back a win. What's next, Nick? Nick. Ooh, that was a struggle bus there. But let's see him. The Nick on Nick crime. Oh, that's big league.
Hopefully, Elliot also has a sad Reed video that he could post. Could you imagine that?
Ooh,
sad Reed
cool.
at Wrigley? Oh, man.
I love that. Nice. He looks great. He looks in prime time fashion. The throw is absolutely electric. It's Banana Land out on Twitter. Is it called X or Twitter? I'm not sure what it's called anymore. You can't call it the Bluebird app, which is an absolute disgrace. I love that term, and I used it for a long term. But you know what? Here's what I have to tell you. We're going to dunk a basketball, but more importantly, let's just soak this in. It's Sunday. On Sundays, there's days where I if my wife is able to drag me out of bed to get me to church, I really do appreciate that out of her. I went to church this morning. When I go to church, there's perspective in life. I try to think through some things, and I was thinking to myself during church, I was like, you know what? I can't tell you how thankful I am that the Cincinnati Reds are as good as they are. They're a blessing. They are a blessing in my life, honestly. They give me something to look forward to every day. And I was even thinking, how much effort, energy, blood, sweat, tears goes into all of these guys, and I say guys as in the clubhouse and David Bell and front office, all these guys' lives. I get they get paid a lot of money. I do understand they get paid a lot of money. But it's nice to know that I can just sit down on my couch, relax in my air condition, living in the United States of America. No offense to all the other countries. Shout out Yash. Yash. But you know what? Here's the thing. They work so hard for me just to enjoy 2 or 3 hours a day that I just want to say, you know what? I appreciate you guys. I thank you for being good at baseball. And I thank the Cincinnati Reds for giving me one hell of a summer. This has been fun. And you know who else has been fun is you, the chat. This chat never fails to amaze me. We had like 380, 400 people or whatever it was in here at 2 a.m. on a Sunday at like 7:30. You guys could be doing whatever you want, but you're in here, and you're hamming it up with us. You're having some fun. You're bringing something to the table. And I say thank you for that. And I got to tell you, I'm going to do my best to present the best dunk I possibly can. All right? I'll give you the best dunk I can. I'm not promising it's going to be good, but I'm going to promise you I'm going to give it hell, because that's all this Reds team has done. They could have folded after Milwaukee. Could have folded it up. But they didn't. You know why? Because off the bench is on. Nick's got off the bench on. All right. Well, nonetheless, off the bench. Presented by United Dairy Farmers. Shout out United Dairy Farmers. Thank you for their advertising. Nick is crying laughing right now in the back. But you know what? I'm not going to let that faze me because I have a dunk to do. I just want to say one last time, thank you for watching this dumb show, okay? And I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to make sure that I can get my studio reorganized so I can have some hotkeys, and I know, hey, I need to play the outro so I can get to it really fast instead of right now I'm just scrambling around trying to find it. And then I'm like, oh, there's the outro. Finally, I can hit it. Took me long enough to get there, but I did. That's part of why this show's great, because you got a bunch of stooges running it. Thank you to Jack for joining the show again. Go check out justbaseball.com. if you get to baseball.com, you're going to find out real fast that ain't the right place. So remember, just baseball.com. I'm going to go dunk a basketball. Go download, rate, and review our podcast if you haven't already. Just give us a quick little one-liner. Say something nice about us. We need all the boosting of confidence we can. As always, go Reds. Shout out to Joey Votto. He still bangs, supposedly. Much love to you. I'm going to go dunk a basketball. Athlete!